Hi everyone, it's Emily here. Sam and I are back, and we're super excited to be working with Spellbinders paper arts for this installment of Too Many Cards. Spellbinders is our generous sponsor, and Sam and I are featuring the March 2020 large die of the month. As long as you order by March 31st, you will get this particular die set. As always, the club subscription and all of the supplies I use in this video are linked below. This month's large die of the month is called Basket Full of Bunnies, and it's absolutely adorable. I love it because you can make cards, decor, gift baskets, and other 3D projects. There are 9 dies included in this month's large die of the month set. The first one is the shape of the basket, which you can cut out as a solid basket, or you can include the insert that cuts and embosses a weaved pattern. I love having both options, and you'll see why in a little bit. To create the 3D basket which holds chocolates or other treats, you'll need to cut 2 of these sides. The other piece you'll need to create the basket is this piece, which makes up the base and sides of the basket. To create the 3D basket which holds chocolates or other treats, you'll need to cut 2 of these for the front and back of the basket. The other piece you'll need to create the basket is this piece, which makes up the base and sides of the basket. You'll need to cut 3 of these, 1 for the base and 2 for the sides. The next 2 dies are the 2 types of foliage, one with pointy leaves and another with rounded leaves. There are 2 branches on each of these dies, one large and one small. They have different curvatures in different directions, which makes it easy to make many different types of scenes. Next are the 2 bunnies, which are fairly big and a great size for clean and simple cards. They'd make great tags as well. They have the sweetest details, both die cut and embossed. I especially love how their arms are die cut so they can hold different objects. This next die includes the inserts for their ears as well as their tails. The last die includes the 2 styles of flowers and their centers. The first thing I'm going to do is make the 3D Easter basket. The first step is to die cut all of these pieces with the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. I'm taping both of the basket pieces in place on blue-violet cardstock and running that through. As it turns out, the cast-offs from the handle are the perfect size for the base and sides of the baskets, so I use those here. Next, I die cut the bunnies from linen white cardstock. I also die cut them from black cardstock for the eyes and also cotton candy cardstock for the noses. If you don't want to bother with inserting these tiny pieces, you can simply glue a bigger piece of colored cardstock behind the holes. I use the Spellbinders tool-in-one to poke out the smaller pieces that are either stuck in the die itself or to separate them from the cardstock. Next, I die cut the ear inserts and tails from fog gray cardstock, as well as the flowers from doll pink, AUDREY blue, and island blue cardstock. Then I die cut the foliage from green apple and green leaf cardstock. I cut multiple sets from each color so I have extras. The next step is to remove all the extra pieces with the tool-in-one, apply score tape, and insert the replacement pieces as necessary. The next step is to remove all the extra pieces with the tool-in-one, apply score tape, and insert the colored pieces as necessary. Since these pieces are so tiny, I use a jewel picker to place them. I want the bunnies to have more expressive eyes, so I use a Sakura white jelly pen to draw pupils. I know this is the opposite of eyes, where the eyeball is white and the pupil is black, but in this case, since the eyes are black, I use white, and that's okay. Next, I use liquid glue to attach the inserts on the bunny's ears. Aren't they the cutest? I could make these bunnies all day long. I also completely forgot about attaching their tails, but I do remember later in the process. Now I'm going to assemble the Easter basket. I simply use my fingers to fold the flaps and bend the middle in the opposite direction, like an accordion. Then I apply 1/8 inch score tape to the 4 flaps. Once I've removed the backing, I attach to one side of the basket and then the other. It's easiest to lay it down on your work surface and press down on the edge of the basket, making sure that the embossed side is facing up. For the sides, you'll have to bend the die piece along the curve of the basket, and this is the main reason why there's a break in the tab. It allows the piece to curl or bend. Using a strong adhesive like score tape ensures that the piece will stay in place. Just take your time while fastening the side pieces to the basket. Here's where I adhere the tails to the bunnies. Next, I die cut the basket from fog gray cardstock to place behind the weaving. If I didn't have this piece, the stems from the foliage would show when I add them inside the basket, and it just looks messy. This piece will act as a lining for the basket. I simply snip off the handle pieces and attach it using a strip of score tape. Then I attach a group of 3 foliage pieces together with glue dots and attach both clusters to the inside of the basket. I use liquid glue and my jewel picker to finish the flowers, which I add to the ends of the foliage with glue dots. Isn't this the prettiest basket? I love the darker, vibrant colors. I've determined that the best size of tissue paper for this basket is 6 by 6 inches. The basket itself is 4 inches tall, so I added 2 inches for room to sit across the base and stick up over the top edge of the basket. I stagger the 2 pieces of tissue paper about 45 degrees from each other and stuff it into the basket. Next, I'm using a blender brush and pumice stone distress ink to sponge the bottom of the bunnies to create dimension and shadow. I use a post-it note under the arm to protect the body while sponging the tip of the paw. After I determine the basic layout of my card, I'm going to stamp a Happy Easter sentiment in the curve of the basket handle. I had a hard time deciding if I wanted to arrange the foliage as grass or place them inside the basket, just like I did with the 3D project earlier. I really liked the idea of the bunnies holding the foliage and having flowers in their hair. I wanted to create a line for the ground where the basket and bunnies would sit, so I placed a piece of masking paper about an inch from the bottom of the panel and used the same pumice stone distress ink to lightly sponge that section, being careful to stay away from the sides of the panel. I added the same fog gray liner behind the basket so I can hide the clusters of foliage going into the basket. Before adhering the basket to the panel, I attached foam tape to the backs of the bunnies and position them on the basket so I know how tall the foliage needs to be behind the bunnies. I make sure to center the basket on the panel and center the bunnies on the panel. Next, I place a strip of score tape at the top of the liner to hold the foliage to the basket. Now I stamp the sentiment in my mini MISTI and attach the panel to the card base. I added stacks of glue dots around the handle of the basket and removed the backing from the score tape on the body of the basket, then attach it to the stamped panel. To finish, I used glue dots to attach flowers to the bunny's ears, and my card is done. Here's a recap of the 2 projects I made with the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month set from March 2020. I made the treat basket first, and then I made a card using the same dies and colors for the prettiest little gift set. The adorable basket has great embossing detail to make it look like it's weaved. I lined it by cutting a solid version of the basket and adhered flowers on the inside, then stuffed it with 2 layers of tissue paper. The card uses the exact same basket, but a 2D version, minus the flowers atop the foliage. Instead, I featured the bunnies front and center, holding extra foliage, and I added flowers to their ears. Be sure to leave a comment here and on Sam's YouTube video for your chance to win a $25 gift certificate to the Spellbinders store. Comments will close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on March 22nd, 2020, and the winner will be announced before our next Too Many Cards videos go live. Please check back to see if you've won. Thanks so much for all your love and support for this video series. If you enjoyed today's video, please click on the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Be sure to head to my blog for all the details, more photos, and a full supply list. Thanks so much for watching!